Hello, welcome to TopDown Conservation's Maintenance Manager. Maintenance Manager comprises of a work order system for assets, tracking time and materials, chemical work orders that track the amount of chemicals that you're using, and employee details, which are tracking labor by activity. And we also have a series of reports. And with that, we're going to get into the work order. The work order will be generated for you, work order number, and then every work order has to be assigned against an asset, and we're going to choose the Deere 220 greens mower. And what is it we're going to do? Well, we're going to do equipment maintenance on it. And all these drop-down menus, you can have as many entries as you want, as many assets, work order types, maintenance procedures. And this particular one, we're going to change the oil. And so we're going to need an oil filter, and that's going to be quantity 1. And then corresponding with the oil filter, we're going to need oil, and we're going to need 5 quarts. And it took us 35 minutes to complete this procedure. This time would then be logged against labor activity on maintenance by maintenance type, and also all the inventory would be decremented out of inventory. Click submit. Off you go. Now let's do employee tracking, labor tracking by activity type. And we're going to start labor tracking on the 4th, Sunday the 4th of February, and it's going to end on Saturday the 10th. And of course, you can assign these whatever you want. We have various options. We can record time by employee, which is very, very time consuming. So we suggest you use all labor classes. And what this does is you will have a summary spreadsheet or a summary someplace as to how much time you're spending mowing greens, raking bunkers, cutting trees, whatever your activities are, and these are self-defined. And we're going to say it took 33 hours and 1 hour and 45 minutes of overtime to mow fairways for that particular week. We'll click submit, and then all the activities for that type of for mowing fairways will be taken care of. If you want to do mowing greens, you got to go back in and say, okay, for all the mowing of the greens, it took 23 hours, and then again that would be tracked. Chemical spray work order, this will be generated for you, and every work order has to have an asset associated with it. So we're going to be using the Deere 300 sprayer to do the chemical application, and the work order type is non-maintenance. And again, you can have any kind of you may just want to say chemical work order or what have you in there. And this is going to be a maintenance procedure, and again, you can have anything you want in here: fungicide spray, herbicide spray, insecticide, etc. Okay, and it took us 3 hours and 45 minutes of regular time and 35 minutes of overtime to do this particular procedure. And what we did was we used a fungicide called Curlin EG, and as you can see, when we click that on, the EPA number, the EPA name, the active ingredient, and the unit of measure were all automatically put in here. Now, how big is the area that we're going to apply the chemicals to? Well, we're going to say it's 24,000 square feet. The weather conditions was sunny, wind 5 miles per hour, 78F, 56% relative humidity, and anything else you might want to put down there. We put 4.5 gallons, and the target was dollar spot. Now, it's very possible, and the applicator was Jim Smith, whose certification number is the following. Now, a lot of times you do chemical spray apps, and you're going to have more than one chemical in the bin, in the vat. So what you can do is you will have the opportunity to enter as many chemicals as you see here into the work order, the chemical work order. Now, once you hit submit, this is taken out of 4.5 gallons is taken out of inventory, and the labor records the time. And off you go. From a report standpoint, we've got labor reports that show standard time and overtime by cost. So what this is showing is that in the time period of the report, we spent $2,148 in course cleanup, and regular time and in overtime, $57. And this shows you a nice way of stack ranking where you're spending your money from a cost standpoint by type of activity. So if you need to cut your budget, you can see some real obvious places that you might be able to cut. We also can show you the standard time and overtime by hours. So this said that course cleanup took 221.25 hours, and overtime hours were 4.5. If you wanted to just see labor costs by activity, this shows you what the labor cost is, and just come over and say for equipment maintenance repair it was $1,831. And labor hours by activity, you can see that there were 225, almost 226 hours in the course activity. From an equipment maintenance standpoint, what this shows is that from whatever time period you start until, and this was 12/12/2010 to January 3rd, 2012, how much time and money you're spending on each asset. So you'll see the bottom bars change as I move down, and you can see that that's 81.18, and that's 77.75, and then you can see this changes, and if they're on different dates, they'll show it, but it shows you what the total is that you spent from the beginning of the date range until the end of the date range. So if you're seeing an awful lot of maintenance on a Deere 300 sprayer that you shouldn't be spending on, you can find this out real easy. From a chemical spray standpoint, we can show you by material spent how much materials are being spent, fungicide, herbicide, so on and so forth, by type of chemical, or by hours spent, okay? And this says that we spent 970 hours applying a fungicide. From an inventory standpoint, we can show you what the average cost per unit is for every oil filter, fungicide, and so on and so forth. That's calculated when they're received. The price is put in, and that's all averaged out. And for every inventory number, you'll see what it is. It's the inventory ID, Valvoline oil, who the manufacturer is, general account number. Now that's important because we can do monthly fees to your general ledger system, and you can get a inventory evaluation at the end of every month if that's important to you. How many you have on hand, what's the cost per unit, and the unit of measurement, and the same thing over on this side, quantity, what's the quantity on hand for each of these. And that, in essence, is our maintenance manager. Hope you enjoyed the presentation, and let us know if you have any questions at 585-472-6515. Thank you.